seconds. That's for him to know what he has to do. Jimmy, we're inside 30 seconds now.
Morning. How y'all doing?
Okay, guys. Can you guys believe it's already 74 degrees?
Ooh, I love it.
We're going to have some thunderstorms today, but nothing major. Here we go, Jimmy. Mics are going hot, guys. 10 seconds.
Good morning, folks. It's Thursday, 10:30. Welcome to Recovery Talk, a show that is about hope and help for hurting people. We discuss we discuss all the aspects of substance abuse and the things that come along with that. And we actually are going to have a pretty interesting show today because it's going to be a discussion show. I am going to introduce my guest here in a minute, but before we do, just want to let you know that this show is brought to you officially by Freedom Auto Tech, which is a local shop here in town that's ready to give you all the professional service you need for your vehicle. And you can know as a customer, the profits are going to support men in Christian recovery through Freedom Farm Ministries. So it's kind of a no-brainer if you got a check engine light on, knock underneath your hood, or maybe you need new tires or something, brakes, specials right now on brakes and AC, and just give them a call, 828-355-4434. That's 828-355-4434. Get on the schedule, give them a call. They're open on Saturdays, which is a unique aspect of Freedom Auto Tech. Most shops are closed around here on Saturdays, so they're ready to give you full service any day of the week, Monday through Saturday. So this morning, my guests are actually my colleagues. So the three of us work together in what we like to call today a transformation ministry, not just a recovery ministry, but transformation ministry. I actually mentioned on the show last week that I'm thinking about changing the name of the show from Recovery Talk to Beyond Sobriety, and Facebook won't let me. Todd, our computer genius, has tried 2 times now to change our name, and they say it breaks their Facebook rules and standards to change because we may mislead our page followers. So anyway, it sounds like Mark Zuckerberg's up in our business, and I don't like it. So anyway, but anyway, my colleagues here, for those of you who can see us on Facebook, and for those who can hear us on the radio, I have my friend James Hester here and his lovely wife Margaret. And it's funny, for those of you that follow the show, they've both been guests on this show. And have you both been guests before you were married?
Correct.
Okay, so you both were guests before you married. And I have my history with these guys is really interesting. First, with James, James contacted me how many years ago?
3
years ago for an internship for the summer. He was going to Moody Bible Institute in Chicago, and he needed to do a summer internship, 6-week internship for his degree. And he contacted me out of the blue, just found me on the internet, and I was rude to him, kind of, just like email rude, like, look, buddy, I ain't got time for this, almost like in a roundabout way. But he was persistent, and he came here and did a 6-week internship. The reason why I was rude, because I just didn't have the time to invent an internship. I was like, I don't know what this guy wants from me. I've never done this before. So anyway, James came, and we got to know him over the 6 weeks. He came and found a little groove for himself. Guys loved him. We love him, Freedom Farm staff. And he went back to Moody, and that wasn't the end of the story. He graduated, and he called or contacted us right before graduation and said, hey, you know what? If you got a spot for me, I'd come back and work for you. So we got James, which is a blessing. It's a 100% blessing. The ministry has been able to go to the next level, having another good fellow worker like James. And then James came here, and then Margaret was a guest on, I think, my 3rd episode.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
3rd episode of Recovery Talk. And you were just about to finish a program. You were like right on the cusp of finishing a program in Charlotte, correct? And through the show, I think some people had offered you some jobs in the world of substance abuse treatment. And I had mentioned to Chris, who used to be on the show with us, that, hey man, if that girl ever wanted a job, man, I'd love to talk to her. And then I guess that got back to you. Mm-hmm. And then anyway, Margaret came and joined the women's program up here called Carries Home for Women. And that's all she wrote. You guys met, and it was funny. You guys met to discuss curriculum, I think.
That's it.
And it was kind of cute. James wanted to make sure he did everything appropriate and above board, so he's like, how do I do this using our office? I said, just leave the door open, man, so nobody can say anything. Just go ahead and discuss your curriculum. And I think 5 days later, I get a phone call from you. It says, all right, man, it's been like 5 days. I can't stop thinking about her. What do I do? Did you know that?
Yes.
I said, what do I do? And I'm like, well, take her out, man. So it's very, very cool. The Lord brought you guys both together. And now you guys are both helping with this kingdom work of trying to bring freedom and transformation to people that are in the bondage of substance abuse. And I'm just thrilled to be working alongside you guys, and I'm excited for the future of this types of ministry here in the High Country. And yeah, thanks. I just love you guys. So.
Well, we love you too, and we're glad to be here.
Yeah. So what happened is I was thinking about today's show, and there's been a couple big things that have happened this week. And I was like, you know what? I need some people that are like in my world, think like I do, to come and talk about some of these things that are going on currently in our country when it comes to, I guess, substance abuse, treatment, and statistics, and how do we take this information that's being given to us through news sources and whatnot, and how do we look at it through the lens of what we're doing today. And so I asked James and Margaret not only to come and brag on their fairly new union. I mean, how long have you guys been married now?
Over 6 months.
Over 6 months of bliss over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
6 months of bliss.
I don't know them anymore.
Yeah. So I asked you guys to come, and you happily said, sure, you'll come in to discuss some of these things with me. How much time we got before we go to the next break?
You've got 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay, so we can introduce this first topic. What I wanted you guys, and I think I told you in the parking lot, I kind of just popped this one on you. But for the first time, listen to this. For the first time since, this is on NPR yesterday morning. I'm an NPR junkie, so I always listen to it every day. But for the first time since 1999, it's looking like they're going to be able to present that there's been a reduction in overdose deaths in the country. First time since 99. And the last statistic that I remember really seeing was from 2017, which was 72,000 people had died. Now, to put it in perspective, we've said on the show before, in 99, that number was I think 12,000 people. So 12,000 people died from overdose in 1999, and that number had risen to 72 or 74, one of those two, 72, 74,000 people by the time of 2017. So that much increase. And also, one of the things that happened, you can see that the Trump administration has been bragging about this lately, saying, hey, we've had a reduction. I heard a number of 17% reduction. So what is that a reduction in? It's a reduction of lives being lost, right? But what people need to understand, that number is being reduced because of what they call a medication therapy. So why don't one of you guys tell the audience what medication therapy is?
Well, essentially what it is an individual is hooked on one substance. So what they do is they give them another substance to counteract the measures, whether it be Suboxone or methadone, in an attempt to wean them off of a certain substance. However, these substances they are giving them are narcotic in themselves. So you're basically just transplanting one substance for another substance. And then oftentimes it's an even worse substance than the one they were originally hooked on.
So worst to come off of and this is like I'm not trying. Okay, so what I want to be is I want to be compassionate at the fact that less people are dying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's a great thing, right? That they've been able to figure out a way to get less people dying. But if you heard what James just said, the way they're going about that is, I forget. I think it was in the '60s when methadone treatment really took in this country to address heroin. Maybe it was in the '70s, and then today there is a drug called buprenorphine that comes in two major forms. One of them being Suboxone, and another one being Subutex. Suboxone is the more widely used because it has another property in it, which is an opiate blocker. So similar to methadone, when you take these drugs, your opiate receptors are blocked from being able to, like if you were to take Suboxone and go try to shoot up heroin, it wouldn't work. It just doesn't work on you, right? So, and then there's what's called a ceiling effect on buprenorphine. So that means that while I've taken buprenorphine before and it's made me high, it's because I had not used for weeks. It made me high. There is a ceiling effect that means that once your tolerance gets up to a certain point, you can't get any more reaction out of it. So like it's it. There's no more you're going to get out of this drug. Now Subutex is a little different. I think that you can take Subutex and then use opiates in the same day and it wouldn't affect you. But methadone and Suboxone are these two drugs that have a significant reduction effect when it comes to people losing lives because they are taking these drugs, like you said, in replacement from the other thing. But what people need to understand is that they need to take these drugs.
Right.
Like it's not even like you just miss your dose for a day. You miss your dose and you're sick. Look, we're coming up on a break. When we come back, we're gonna pick up there with medication therapy. So stay with us, folks, and we'll be back in just a minute.
See, that's interesting you guys bring that up because Jim McMahon, who played professional football, won 2 Super Bowls with the Bears and as a backup with Green Bay, got so hooked on painkillers he was taking up to 13 a day. It cost him his first marriage. And he said, I know I'm going to get in trouble saying this, but his second wife said, smoke pot. You'll get rid of the habit. He thought, oh, come on. She said, I'm telling you, smoke pot. It helped my brother. He started smoking marijuana. He quit like that. And he said if he had not taken that advice, he would have died within the year.
Hi, Anna. Hi, Carol.
And that's why I think what's going to happen, that's why I think marijuana, see, there was a doctor, this is going back maybe about 5 years ago, a young doctor in Texas, I think it was somewhere around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He had used marijuana on children from 6 to 18 that were having life-threatening seizures. The seizures went away after 2 or 3 applications. They completely stopped. There was good to it. There was good to it. But again, how do you control the recreational part of it? See, where Colorado's running into problems is you buy it, you take it home, and hey, check this out, I got some seeds. Now, if it's a female, you don't need to buy it anymore. You can grow it if you got a green thumb. That's the problem they're running into. They haven't figured out how to tax it. That's the problem. It's like alcohol. Sure, they've stopped prohibition. Why did Roosevelt stop it? Money. Let's bring it back. Let's tax the daylights out of it. And hey, everybody gets rich. Go on and get drunk. And that's why all of it came back. Don't get me, the government will make, don't trust me, they'll find a way to make money. Trust me. What you do, trim your beard?
I did a little bit, yeah.
I can tell.
I think I'm going to trim it a little bit more, actually.
It makes you look mean.
Does it?
Yeah, it does.
I told my wife I was
give you
gonna-
these looks.
I told my wife I was going to shave it off. She said, no, you're not. I was like, oh, I was going to shave
Here we
it
go, Jimmy, 25 cents.
Highly successful positive parenting program
Oh,
called
if you came in here, oh man, I would not even know who the heck you were. Here we go, guys. 15 seconds. Mics go live in 3, 2, 1. Mics are hot.
Welcome back, folks. Recovery Talk, Hope and Help for the Hurting. And we want to change it to Transformation Talk or Beyond Sobriety, because you know what? Sobriety is not just our goal. You know, that's not the work that we're involved in. It is a hopefully an after effect or a byproduct of what we're looking for, which is transformation. You know, the idea of recovery, like if you break your arm, right? What do? You recover from a broken arm. So you go back to having an arm that works the way it was before, right? So recovery doesn't really, capture what it is our end goal, which is a totally different life, you know? So anyway, we're stuck with the name for now because of Mark Zuckerberg. So I'm going to keep hating on him on the show because I don't think he knows what's going on here in Boone. So, well, maybe he does. Anyway, so there's been an evolution actually in this. I'm just going to tell you some personal experience when it comes to medication therapy, and you guys jump in anytime because I know that Margaret knows people that are involved. Have you ever been on medication therapy? Okay, so we'd like to hear from you too. But the evolution of it for me has been before I came. So this is probably 10 years ago. 11 years ago when I was back home in Florida, and this was the racket that I played. And I'm not saying everybody does this. This is what I did. So I would get caught by my family that I was using, right? So I would, in order to keep them at bay, I would say, what I need is to go and detox, right? I need to detox. That's what I would tell them. So they have these outpatient detox centers in South Florida. Now, again, they may not have this anymore, but so I was an opiate guy. I mean, I was an IV drug user, opiate guy. So that was my favorite. That was my drug of choice, they call it. So anyway, you go to this clinic, and you pay $100. It was back then. It was like $100, and you go and you just sit in front of a doctor for a consultation, right? Well, you got your vitals checked. They check your blood pressure and temperature, and they ask you a couple questions. So I go in to see the doctor. First consultation, I always knew to tell him that I was taking at least twice as much opiates that I was. And then this is what I did, because I did this probably a dozen times, okay? I would always tell them that I was also addicted to benzodiazepines, right? Which I never was. I never liked those drugs, but I would always tell them I was taking like 15 2 milligrams Xanax a day, plus I was taking this much... And so what I would do is I'd walk out of there with a prescription for Suboxone, and I would walk out with a prescription for Klonopin, which would just, it was like my version of free pot. That's what I looked at Klonopin as. You took it, and they were giving me the Klonopin to take me off of the benzos that I said I was, but I was not on. And they gave me the Suboxone, which I would usually maybe try. I mean, there was a couple times where I actually tried the step down and everything like that, but I'd always get down to the end, and guess what would happen at the end? I would go through withdrawal anyway. I would have 3 or 4 days of withdrawal, about a week of not sleeping, because I think the sleeping's worse when it comes to coming off that stuff than if you were to just come off. How long does it take to get off opiates? Average.
3 to 7 days.
Yeah. So, how long does it take for you to start feeling halfway normal from Suboxone? About
a
week, maybe 10 days. So, even after you've done the step down and everything, you still go through it. So it's just like, it made no sense to me. It just became like this thing that I did in order to keep family at bay. And, when I went, they never drug tested me. They never did. So whatever I told them was just true, so they didn't check me out. They just trusted what I said. And this was a giant racket back then, because people actually would buy those drugs for me that I'd get prescribed from the outpatient clinic. So, what was your experience with medication therapy?
The first time I took advantage of it, so to speak, was with methadone. And I would go pay my $11 a day and get the methadone. But that was just to help me not be sick. And then I would leave there and find ways and means to get more pills. And, so I'd get high too. And then I'd go back to the methadone clinic the next day so I wouldn't be sick that morning. And so it was just this ongoing, never-ending process. And then I came off of the methadone through Suboxone. And I had a doctor who was prescribing me Suboxone, but I didn't like Suboxone, and so I would get it and sell it and get pills. And so I never would, my experience was never successful. I don't suggest it for others, it's just becoming cross-addicted, and that's just not helpful or productive. And so that's what I've experienced personally.
So I was wrong. I need to correct myself. You can get high on regular opiates after methadone.
Absolutely.
Okay, so for some reason I thought there was
Suboxone that has the blocker in it, but the Subutex, I shot up Subutex and then followed it with pills and opioids. And so, that's no problem. And then with the methadone, I've done the same thing. I've gotten the methadone at the methadone clinic and then shot up, heroin or whatever.
For some reason, I thought methadone had that property too, but I guess I was wrong. I never did methadone.
This has been 10 years ago,
Yeah.
So maybe it's different. I don't know.
Well, I did go to a lecture here at the hospital. It's a 3-hour lecture on all of this type of conversation, plus, the effectiveness of opiate pain medication to treat pain. There was a really informative lecture. But actually, methadone has the longer or the higher success rates when it comes to treating people.
Interesting.
Yeah, Suboxone is about 10% less successful than methadone. Methadone's much more successful when it comes to that. And the guy that was doing the lectures, he ran a clinic, and he said that they always lost 1 or 2 people on the methadone because of this weird thing that if you're on methadone and you were to take an antibiotic, this certain antibiotic, it'll kill you. You won't wake up the next morning. And there would somebody would be on methadone, get a toothache, go to the emergency room, get put on the antibiotic, go home, take it, and not wake up in the morning because of this reaction that happens. That was the only real serious downside that he said in his experience of doing this for years, treating people with methadone.
I know that another thing, when I was doing methadone, they would drug test you regularly for benzos, because the methadone and the benzos you could take and not wake up in the morning.
Right, that's a deadly cocktail.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So another part of the evolution is, and correct me if I'm wrong too, because I've obviously, praise God, I've been out of it for this long, and I just hear from what people say. But back then, they would give you a month's worth of prescription. From what I understand today, even Suboxone is a daily thing. So methadone, you have to go to the clinic every day.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay your $12.
Whatever, yeah.
And so this is the life. This is medication therapy. You have to go to a clinic on a daily basis. You have to be there, either it's first thing in the morning or after work in the afternoon,
The methadone clinic I went through to was from 6 a.m. until 12 p.m. For 6 hours, that was your window.
You have to show up. You have to get your dose.
Right.
And they give you the one dose to get you through 24 hours, and you pay your daily fee. And then I think after you get some trust, they start giving you what's called take-homes.
Right.
So you have doses for the weekend. But yeah, that's the life. That's medication therapy. So you have to do that every day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think they actually have started doing that with Suboxone too, where they only give you daily dose. I don't know if I'm right on that, but that's what I understand, that a lot of places are not even prescribing more than...
I thought it was a 5-day prescription that you could do.
Maybe, okay.
And so, but because they would drug test, or it's either 3 or 5 days because they drug test you. And so if you're doing other things, then they'll stop your prescription.
But so the point in all of this discussion that I want to make is that, does that sound like a worthwhile life? Okay, that I have to go every day to the doctor, and if I have enough trust, they'll let me have some for the Saturday and Sunday that they're closed, right? And I have to go there every day, pay this money. Because you know what? Interesting, that doctor that was doing the lecture, we asked, because he was talking about the success rates. He's like, these are this highly successful. And I asked him, when you say success, does that mean people are continuing to, use this drug on a daily basis? And is there a time frame when people work towards getting off? He said, yes, the success rate are people that are taking these drugs on a daily basis, but they're not doing other drugs. He said, and when it comes to getting them off, we leave that up to the patient. And I said, so could someone potentially be on this rest of their life? And he says, yes, rest of their life. So that was depressing. That depresses me. Now, again, I want to say that saving lives, okay? We can't take away the fact that these things are saving lives. But what kind of life is it that people are being given? You know what I mean? Is that something I want to get involved in? Personally, no, I don't. You know?
It's just a different kind of bondage.
Right.
You know?
I also think that there's a misconception about coming off opiates because it looks really scary. You know, we've seen movies of people coming off heroin, and you know the guy's sweating and shaking and can't sleep. And if you've ever seen any of those movies like Basketball Diaries or something, I mean, it's a terrible thing.
Right.
It ain't gonna kill you though,
No.
and it'll go away. A week later, that person's gonna be all right.
Yep.
You know, so to avoid that pain, to avoid that suffering. That's what this whole industry is kind of based on, and I think it's hurting more than it's helping. It's actually helping save lives, but as far as long term, I think it's keeping people in the same exact bondage that they are trying to get out of. So that's a depressing thing. I don't really want to be a part of it, but I do want to say that I am happy to hear that less people have died. So that is a good thing. So you know what? Introduce the next topic, then we'll go to break, but. With all this happening, I want to say that there's been a report yesterday on CNN, 33% increase on suicide. So think about that when we come back from break. That's what we're going to discuss next.
It's the High Country's information station, AM 14.
Yeah, I can remember when the NBA had a real, I mean, you guys were probably very, very young, but back in the 70s, the NBA fell out of huge favor with the media, with the public. They couldn't get people into the seats. Bernard King was one of the top players in the league. He also had a very hellacious drug habit. And in those days, he was playing for the then New Jersey Nets, who are now the Brooklyn Nets. And they didn't have a home arena yet. They were playing in Piscataway, New Jersey, on the campus of Rutgers University in their gym. And the Bulls were going in there the next night to play them. Well, overnight, Bernard had been arrested. He was found with his car running, passed out, double parked, cocaine all over his shirt, his trousers, everything, and he goes to jail. Of course, you're dealing with New York, New Jersey, so everything gets brought out. The next night, God rest his soul, he's gone now, Jim Durham. We lost him too young. Great basketball play-by-play announcer. Opens up the broadcast and goes, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a delay. There's an incident here at the arena. The NBA will not allow the game to start until they clean up the graffiti that's being displayed by the fans. Now, you have to understand, in those days, Rutgers gym only sat like maybe 7,500. Yet, fans brought signs. Coke is the real thing. Coke adds life. And the NBA went ballistic. And they told the Nets, you either clear that out or you're forfeiting the game. It took almost an hour to get it all cleaned up. King's career was over at that point. The Nets didn't waste any time. By the end of that weekend, they cut him loose. You're done. I can't handle it because we're struggling in the standings. We can't get people to even show up. Now you do this? Bye. Got rid of him. He literally, this is the truth, he found God and started running marathons to clean the stuff out of his system. It was a tremendous fight to do it, but he had the willpower to do it. Al Attles, who died a short while back, had been involved with the Golden State Warriors as a coach, then later as a front office guy. He gets word of this. He said, I'm going to go check this out. He went to several marathons that he saw King running at, but he never approached him. He didn't trust him. Finally, after about maybe 5 or 6 times, the race had ended, he approached him. He said, I'll tell you what, you look like you've cleaned yourself up, and I've spoken to people that know you, that know what you're going through. I'm not making you any guarantees. I'm going to invite you to a tryout. That's all. He said, but you slip up one time, it's over. And he said, I'll tell everybody in the league to not even bother with you. King went to that tryout, made the team, and overnight became a sensation for the Warriors. 3 years later, the Knicks handed him a huge contract, and people are like, oh my God. He went to New York, he didn't touch it, he stayed clean. He was one of their best players. Same thing happened to Chris Webber. When he got in trouble, when he was in Washington, he winds up going to Sacramento. And people are like, oh my God, now you're in California? This is going to get worse. He said the best thing that ever happened to him, he said Sacramento was like a small little Midwestern town. Nothing happened. There was no crap going on. And he was able to wean off all that garbage, and it saved his career. It saved his life. But it's like I've always said, it's here and it's here. And if you're willing to do it, you can walk away. You can't have a foot in and a foot out. That ain't going to work. Jimmy, I can't believe you did that. Holy, this guy tells story. I can't believe it.
Hey, did you not get the
We're inside
memo
a minute,
about the
sir.
shirt color?
We're inside a minute, sir. We're inside a minute. Unbelievable.
Come on, man. Don't you know it's
It's a promo for Two Worlds Divers.
Hey, Mitch.
Okay, Jimmy, you are coming up. Let's see here.
close?
35 seconds, Jimmy.
CTV, Severe Weather Center 9, High Country Weather.
Another great day here in the high country, mostly sunshine, looking for a high.
Can you imagine getting busted like that? All that crap all over your clothes.
Around 60. Mostly sunny.
Holy moly.
However, those afternoon storms could be popping up. Looking for a high.
Okay, guys, mics are going to go live.
Sunshine for your
3,
Saturday. However,
2,
there is
mics are live.
Welcome back, folks, to Recovery Talk, Hope and Help for the Hurting, the show that's brought to you by Freedom Auto Tech, which is a local mechanic shop here in town ready to do good work on your vehicle, and you can know as a customer at the same time the profits from the shop are going to support a good cause, which is Freedom Farm Ministries, a 1-year Christian program for men, transformational program for men. Men come in the bondage of substance abuse, and the goal is for them to leave different people. So give them a call, 828-355-4434. That's 828-355-4434. They're open on Saturdays, and they offer 2-year, 24,000-mile warranties on all parts that you buy through them, except for like Mercedes-Benz parts that their dealer doesn't carry. You have to buy special dealer parts. Anyway, so give them a call. So we could go on and on. I don't want to go too much more on the medication therapy. I want to tell you that the what Congress did, they threw a bunch of money at this. They lifted some restrictions too. There used to be a pretty low cap on how many patients a Suboxone doctor could have, and now they've upgraded that. So now doctors can have more patients on Suboxone. And they also have the regulation on who could be a Suboxone prescriber. You can actually be a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant now and be a Suboxone or methadone prescriber. So they've done that, and they've also federal shelters, drug shelters, and stuff like that. They've lifted a restriction on what they call dormitory style facilities where you had a dorm with lots of people in there. They used to have a restriction. I think it was capped at 14 people. You can only have like 14 people in a, but they've now lifted that. So basically, it's the country's now ripe for more people being put on these medications, and the goal, obviously, their goal is to stop overdose deaths, or to have a significant reduction in overdose deaths. So they are achieving their goal. We are giving the perspective that what kind of people are now being produced out of this system. And I just want people to know what that looks like. I want people to know what it looks like. There is something better. Okay, I want to say that there is hope. I came into Freedom Farm February, it'd be 9 years ago, and I was on 6 different medications. I was on Suboxone. I was on a pill to make me sleep. I was on a pill for depression. I was on a pill for anxiety. I was on a pill for everything you can possibly think of. And since I've been here, 4 months after being here, I have not taken any medication.
Right.
Maybe I did. Maybe I need to, though. I don't know. We'll have to ask my wife about that. Anyway, I mentioned the new topic. Another interesting. This was on CNN. I was briefly watching last night as I was looking for the debates, which that could be a whole other show if any of you guys watch those. But it was kind of funny. But there was a doctor on with Chris Cuomo, and he was talking about how since 1999. There has been a 33% increase in suicide in our country. So suicide is on the rise. I don't know if you guys see on Facebook, I see it often now. There's people putting supportive suicide, hey, we're prevention like posts, and hey, if you're my friend, I want repost this. And I've been seeing that a lot now, but I didn't realize it had been an increase that much now. So think about it. We live in a culture now where you're connected to way more people than you ever have been. You have more cyber relationships than you could possibly have. We are, as far as people in materialism, people have more at their fingertips. I mean, my phone, it's kind of embarrassing to say because I don't really make money to justify it, but because Verizon makes it so easy to do, they charge you per month for the phone, but my phone costs $1,000. My telephone, my cell phone costs $1,000. That's kind of ridiculous. I have the iPhone 10, or X or whatever you want to call it. But we have all this stuff. We have much more at our fingertips. If you see social media, everybody's living their best life now. All kinds of great things, but here people are killing themselves now at a higher rate than ever before. So. What do you guys, in your own opinions, what would you guys start attributing some of that to, if you have an opinion about it?
Well, I would say, I guess it was first classified as a disease in 1956, if my history is correct. And since then, the progress that has been made has been minute at best. And you're giving these individuals the belief that they are stuck with this, and that there is no hope, that this is just going to be their way of life. And one of the main causes for suicide is a loss of hope. You do not see your future getting better. You do not see a way out, and it gets to a point where your best solution, you feel, is to just end it all. And we're here to tell you that there is hope. That you don't have to be stuck in this for the rest of your life.
Yeah, one of the interesting things that I was just having this discussion the other day, that when I was in the bondage of substance abuse, I kind of thought that I guess a fun way to call it is all the normies, people that don't have the real problem, that you were just like. Now there's a sense that you have a specific thing that you struggle with that they don't, right? But I thought that I was just so different from these people, right? Because I did this, I was just so different. But to tell you the truth, there isn't much difference. There isn't much space between my problem and your problem. We both have problems. They may look different, but we have problems, right? And I've learned that even more and more. The other thing, kind of funny, I always thought there was a certain age people reached, and you just became like an adult and you were just mature. It's not true at all.
Nope.
It's not
Not
true
even a
at
little
all.
bit.
There's still people that I know that are way past that age and they act like children. So anyway, so yeah, I would say that in the world of substance abuse, you brought up an interesting word, which is going to be our final topic, disease. Okay, you're told in addiction that you have a disease, right? And this is something you carry for the rest of your life, and you know, a disease. You know, if you think about that word, you know, the connotations of that word, it's like, you know, I start relating it to things like, you know, like cancer or you know, Parkinson's. I got Parkinson's, you know, so you know, it's almost like this look at yourself like victim almost, you know, you're like a victim. So and you feel, you know, in a way, you feel sorry for yourself, you know, because why did I have this thing? And then you're told things like, well, you know, you have a genetic disposition to it, and you know, and trust me, I'm not trying to be, you know, I'm trying to be compassionate, but you could hear in my voice probably, and I really don't like it. I really don't like the term addiction as being a disease, but the loss of hope, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a second, but the loss of hope, I think whether you're struggling with substance abuse or just life in general, because that 33% is not just people with a substance abuse problem. It's like the general public. It's like mixed in people that are struggling with drugs and alcohol. I would say probably a high percentage of them are probably people that struggle with substance abuse. But a lot of these people are just, you know, if you can imagine, they're going through Facebook world or Instagram life and seeing and comparing themselves, right? Comparing their life. And they're like, there is zero that's special about me.
Right.
I mean,
Well, you've said it. We're in contact now with more information and more people than ever before, and we're literally inundated with information.
right.
The thing people are struggling to find are true answers, and everyone has their opinions. But where do we find truth? Where does that become the foundation upon which we build off of?
Right. Yeah, and so if you've ever I studied, you know, undergraduate philosophy. I love that kind of thing. So everybody's been trying to answer those questions for a very, very long time. Like, where's my place? What's my purpose? What is meaning? Where's morality? And people get all these answers, and you know, you're going to get it from somewhere because people need to get those answers, right? So they need to get answers. And when you live in this, especially in America right now, it's like this politically correct world where, like, all truth is truth, you know. So everybody's got to be right in their own mind, and you almost can't disagree with anybody anymore, right? Because then you're a bigot or you know, you're a racist or something, you know. And it's kind of creating a lot of lostness, you know, because if everything's true, then nothing is true.
Correct.
Does that make sense? I mean, if everything's true, then nothing is true. Right? So, yeah, I mean, one of the things on the debate stage last night, one of the candidates said he was going to make abortion right. He said justice, even for trans females. Access to abortion for trans females. He's going to make that. He's going to give them access. Now, look, I'm not trying to get into a trans debate, but it's biologically impossible for a trans female to be pregnant.
Right.
But he's literally making this statement on national television. He's going to give them access for their justice, and he's getting stand-up or applause. And that's how crazy stuff is. Anyway, did you give me... Okay, yeah, so we got a break, and we come back, we're going to talk about Z's. So stick with us, folks. We'll be back in just a few.
That is a ridiculous statement.
Julian Castro last night. He
That
said,
is a
he said, I don't know if it was a
ridiculous
slip of the tongue, but he says, look, I'm not only going to give women access to abortion, but they're going to have the justice of abortion. And I was like, justice? You know, I don't understand how this is
See, I
justice.
think a lot of this goes back to what had happened in the past. The way, as Tom Landry said in his autobiography, the late Dallas Cowboys coach, his idol growing up was a Native American who got him involved in athletics as a young age. And he was looked down upon because he respected this man. He referred to him as Mr. Martin in the book. He was a Native American. I don't know what Navajo, whatever, which that part of the country, because he grew up in Texas. But he said dark colored people were looked down upon. And I think a lot of that prejudice and hate that built over all that period of time when the Civil Rights Act came in, it's given people an idea to say, hey, we're going to strike back. And you have to be so careful what you say and how you say it, because all of a sudden you're being made to look like a bigot. And that's not what you meant. And things get taken completely out of context. And I think it's got a lot to do with it. This country's in a lot of trouble, folks. We are in a lot of trouble. Jimmy, you're inside 30 seconds. And Jimmy, this will be your last segment.
Right.
You will, when you come back, you will have 11 minutes.
Okay.
All right, Jimmy, 20 seconds. 15 seconds. Mics go hot in 10. In 5, pardon me. Mics are hot.
Welcome back to Recovery Talk, folks. That was a quick break, but we're going to finish the show out. We got about 11 minutes to talk about our last little topic, and then I'll introduce you in a second. Right after I tell you about Freedom Auto Tech. If you haven't heard, local auto shop here in town, ready to give you good service to your car, and you can know as a customer at the same time the profits are going to support men in Christian recovery through Freedom Farm Ministries. Give them a call, 828-355-4434. That's 828-355-4434. Remember, they're open on Saturdays, and they offer a 2-year, 24,000-mile warranty on new parts bought through the shop. So give them a call, 828-355-4434. All right, so the three of us have been involved in an organization called the Addiction Connection, and we've met a gentleman by the name of Mark Shaw, who has been in and out of secular treatment, as far as working at them, secular treatment, integrated treatments, and now he's more of a biblical guy, and he is a biblical guy. He's an author, he's written a lot of books, and he offers like training for people like us that are looking for more of not a goal of just sobriety, but transformation. So helpful stuff. But he's a writer, and he's constantly, and he had an article the other day which we found out James did not read, but his wife did. But anyway, it was an article about a decision that in May of this year, through, I forget what the organization is called, but it's basically the people that deem medical terms on things, right? So in May of this year, they have deemed video game addiction as a new disease. Okay,
They being who, and that's the World Health Organization.
World Health. Sorry, thank
Yeah.
you. So that's why. So she read it better than I did because she retained more than us. So the World Health Organization in May of this year have deemed video game addiction as the latest disease to be included in their list of diseases. So think about that for a second, okay? Because young kids or even adults are escaping into the world of video gaming, which trust me, I don't know. You like video?
I'm a gamer.
You're a gamer.
I love my games.
Okay, but it doesn't mean that you have an addiction to it. You may enjoy it. It's not like video games are evil inherently themselves. It's just anything that you do in excess or have a habitual negative habit with, that's a bad thing. So that can be done with a plethora of things. I mean, think about the list of things people can be addicted to, anywhere from over exercising to overeating to too much coffee. There's all kinds of things that people can habitually use or involve themselves in. I mean, there's sex addiction, there's porn addiction, there's all kinds of things, but and some of those things are inherently bad themselves. But gaming, I wouldn't say is inherently bad within itself. But I have like a nephew, my sister's constantly battling because he's on that Fortnite game, which was mentioned in the article. I don't know if Todd is able to, if he's listening. Todd, if you're listening, look up Mark Shaw on Facebook, and there's an article there that he wrote for an organization about video gaming addiction. I posted it too, and you can post it for our people on Facebook. Hey, and real quick, a little plug for Facebook. If you are listening to the show and you missed some of it, and you want to come back and see any of the shows, this one or anyone, you can go to Recovery Talk on Facebook until they let us change the name and find any of these shows and watch them. Or you can go on our website, freedomfarmministries.org, and we post them all there too through a YouTube channel. Anyway, back to it. His whole point in the article, calling this thing a disease, is like, basically, where does this end? I mean, think about that. What do you think? Where does this end when it comes to now we're calling video game addiction a disease?
Right. Well, the problem is it is a disease, and it's a disease of the heart, and it comes out in many different symptoms. It could be in drugs or alcohol. It could be in gaming. It could be in shopping. It could be in eating. It could be in reading. Whatever it is that we use, I like the word you use, escape, and we begin to overindulge, it begins to have an effect on us physically. So to deny the physical aspect of it would be foolish on our part. However, we don't just treat symptoms, we treat the whole person. And there's something more going on that just medications are not able to deal with. And this is what's truly going on inside of a person. What are they trying to either escape from or to fill in their lives, that they think that this substance or this game or this whatever is going to be the answer? Inevitably, they find out that it is empty. They cannot fulfill this desire, which brings about the loss of hope that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. So yeah, pushed into habitual habits because of loss of hope, right? And then thinking that you're going to fill some need or void through whatever thing you're habitually doing, and then those things ultimately letting you down. They don't ultimately fill the need or the void that you were hoping it would. So this is, not hard to understand. It's not hard to literally see, in people's lives. But I do want to say something. I don't want people to think that are listening to this or watching us that this isn't just like some honest path of maybe mistaking that these people are they have an agenda. There is a motive driving this. Let me tell you something. People are going to make a lot of money off of deeming things a disease, because guess what? They have a medical condition.
Correct.
Right? So this person has a medical condition now. Let me tell you something. The recovery, the recovery industry, last time I looked, which is an old stat, a couple of years ago, is a $38 billion industry in this country. Now, you know how it became a $38 billion industry? Is when they started calling it a disease.
Right.
And now you're able to build insurance companies. And I saw a video the other day from my home county down in Florida of a new facility being opened up. And they basically took 2 floors of an apartment building, and they've, looks like, who are those homemakers that come in and chip in Jonah or whatever?
Joanna Gaines.
Yeah, so they came in and, made it all look nice, and they bought all this, nice furniture, nice TVs, and blah, blah, blah. And I guarantee you they're going to charge some insurance company $1,000 a day for people to come in there and sit in this posh environment and talk to them about the disease they have and at no fault of their own. And you have something to basically, it's not me, it's you. I mean, how many times have you guys been in those circles where say, it's not them, it's their disease?
Right.
It's not them, it's their disease. Really, So yeah, so there's going to be a lot of people maybe that they don't have a video game disease addiction treatment centers yet, but probably have private people already cashing in on this.
Right.
And then medication, right? You got the pharmaceutical industry that are going to push medications that are going to supposedly help out with this type of thing, right? So that's just all very depressing. So I don't want you to think it's just some innocent mistake that these people are making. They're looking at it through the lens of how do we get results for this problem? What's a common thing in America? Everybody wants a pill to fix everything, right?
Right.
That's just seen in almost anything that people struggle with. people like me that struggle with weight most of their life. We get duped by every little diet pill or diet plan or anything like that they come out with because we want it fixed. We want it to go away. But really, what is always the tried and true thing that's going to help you with your weight?
Diet
Eating
exercise.
right and exercising, right? There's no secret there, right? So, like, what is going to get kids away from these lives of severe depression, escapism, all that type of thing? They need hope.
Right.
So, where are we going to go to find hope? Let me tell you something. If you're like me, I don't find too much in the media.
No.
They are peddlers of pessimism. Okay, everything's wrong. Right? There is no hope that to be gleaned from. We just like waiting for it to all explode one day. There's no hope. I don't find any hope in social media, except for Mike Kelly posts. Mike Kelly, he posts a lot of hopeful posts. So if you're not friends with him on Facebook yet, you need to, because he has all these nice, hopeful posts. But you the three of us sitting here, we know what answers those all those questions ultimately, and that's who am I in Christ, and what does that mean when it comes to the Creator of all things. So I told you we were going to fill up a whole show really, really quick, right? So that's what happened. We are running out of time, but you guys, Margaret, you didn't talk so much. Maybe we'll have to have you on a sixth time. She was telling us before the show, fifth time, probably your fifth time on the show. Fourth time. Okay, fifth time. But we are glad that you're here on the show. And James, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
My pleasure.
And you know what, folks? If you want to have any more, if you have any questions about anything we talked about today, don't hesitate to send us a message through Facebook. Give us a call. We'd be happy to talk further. If you want to be on the show, give us a call. We'd love to have you as a guest. Anyway, folks, next Thursday we'll see you again, 10:30. Be there, or I'm not gonna say that. Anyway, we'll see you later.
Bye.
Jimmy, next Thursday.